Cool. Hello? Cool. Well, thank you guys very much for coming today. For everyone here, it's been a pleasure to network and learn about a lot of KNIME use cases, especially the ones that you are just completely surprised by, the ones you have no idea I could even do that with KNIME. So it's very inspiring to be here. And also props to Deutsche Telekom. I could not imagine doing a presentation in German, because my German is nicht good. At an A0.5 right now. But cool, thank you guys. So my name is Steven Ronner. I'm the Partner Technology Manager here at KNIME. So that means I work closely with a lot of our integration projects, and some of them which eventually blossom into technology partnerships. Because at the end of the day, sometimes as a customer or as a partner, the tech ecosystem can be a bit spaghetti-like, where we have kind of multiple connections of different softwares working together, and sometimes maybe putting the data stack together may be a bit confusing. So at KNIME, we're building out a good technology partnership ecosystem, right, to really ensure to the customers that the foundations of these, or the integrations of these projects are very secure, very put together. So joining me today as a specific technology partner is going to be Snowflake. And so for some information there, over the last year, we've been spending a lot of time and really working strongly with Snowflake in both the EMEA market and the United States market to really go in with a joint solution. And with them, we see it as a good ensuring of a full data stack, right, where we kind of leverage Snowflake and their advanced cloud computing and the cloud databases, and KNIME on the more advanced analytics side. So as you can see here, we are currently, as of a couple weeks ago, have moved into their premier partnership status, and we've also gone through the Snowflake Ready program, which is a very robust audit of the integration to make sure it's secure, safe, and production ready. So also on stage with me, I have two very intelligent individuals. I have Marcel Meyer, who is the head of data governance and management at SIEMENS Healthineers, and Ripu Jain, a senior partner engineer at Snowflake. So I'll hand it off to Ripu in a second. He will go into detail, more into detail about Snowflake and kind of how it works adjacent to KNIME. And then after that, we'll go to Marcel Meyer, who will give us a description and testimonial of how they're using this joint solution in production at SIEMENS Healthineers, where they created a data as a service product and data products available to their internal customers around the world. So cool. With that, I'll pass it off to Ritu.
Thank you. I just noticed I'm wearing the same jacket, and Marcel, you're wearing the check shirts.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Funny coincidence. How do I work this thing?
The green button.
The green button, obviously. That's the biggest button on this thing. Hey, everyone. I'm Ripu Jain. I'm a partner engineer with Snowflake, and as a partner engineer, I get to work with KNIME as a partner in the partner ecosystem of Snowflake. I will let everyone read this slide for next 10 minutes, but no, kidding. I'll just say one fun fact that I learned today as I was driving here. I live in Austin, by the way. I was driving here, and the one thing that popped up on NPR was we hit 8 billion Homo sapiens on this planet as of today, which is crazy. That means more consumption of Snowflake, as 8 billion people will try to use Snowflake. Quick show of hands, how many people are familiar with Snowflake? 95% hands up. How many people use Snowflake in production? Okay, about 20% in the room. Quick sales pitch about Snowflake. Snowflake is, internally we call it the one true data cloud. What that means is it is agnostic of the cloud provider, and it is agnostic of the cloud region. So the same Snowflake is available to you in AWS or GCP or Azure, and it's also the same capabilities are available to you in Americas or in Europe or in Australia, which is pretty cool. The way Snowflake makes it work is what you see on the lower end of this diagram. This 10,000-foot view gives you the idea of how Snowflake separates compute and storage. What that means is your ETL jobs need not compete with your BI reports, right? So Snowflake handles that separation of compute and storage. Well, not internally, but we call it virtual warehouses. So you can assign your jobs to different warehouse sizes. On the top is what we call workloads. So Snowflake is able to handle any sort of workloads, be it from data warehousing, data lake, and at Summit, our annual conference back in June, we announced 2 new workloads, one for data applications and for row-based transactional data ingestion. We call it Unistore. I recommend that you connect with your Snowflake account teams to learn more about those. But speaking of how Snowflake is available seamlessly in different regions and different cloud, it's through what we call SnowGrid. What that means is you can have your data available in any of the cloud regions, and top 10 Fortune 10 companies actually use this capability to do backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity. This SnowGrid also allows you to have a marketplace whereby you can do data sharing internally as well as to your partners, to your upstream and downstream partners, all in a secure data collaboration environment. This also creates an opportunity to monetize your data sets and insights, which is a pretty cool revenue-generating aspect of your could be an aspect of your business. Speaking of all the data acquisition that an organization can acquire, can lead to data chaos, and Snowflake does a very good job of unifying your data governance strategies. And Marcel here will talk more about that in a second. And we're going to be working closely with KNIME as well to bring data governance closer in your data workflows on KNIME. So look forward to that. Lastly, before I hand it over to Marcel, Snowpark Python. Actually, quick show of hands. Who is here familiar with Snowpark? Okay, just 3 people. So quick spiel on that. The idea behind Snowpark is there's times when the data science community, the citizen data scientists and machine learning engineers would want to export data out of Snowflake to do some machine learning modeling, right? Snowpark for Python allows you to not do that. You bring code, you bring Python to the data that's sitting in Snowflake. And Snowpark for Python is now generally available. It was in public preview up until last week, and we announced Snowpark for Python as generally available. So definitely reach out to your Snowflake account teams if this is a use case that folks might be interested in. With that, I will pass it over to Marcel.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Ripo, for setting the stage. Thanks for tuning in. I know you in the room had not much of a choice, but I trust there is a coffee break waiting for us, so there's light at the end of the tunnel. But anyways, before we go there, I would like to talk about our experience with KNIME and Snowflake. For those who don't know who SIEMENS Healthineers is, we are a global med solution company, part of Siemens, independently listed on the stock exchange. We act all around the globe. I think best described by our purpose, we pioneer breakthrough in healthcare for everyone, everywhere. And with that, we have a product portfolio of medical imaging like CT scanners, MR scanners, ultrasound, advanced therapies, which are precision medicine, neurovascular, cardiovascular, robotic surgery, cancer care, cancer therapy, lab diagnostic. So basically every clinical field that you can find out there. My role is I'm working in the CRM Excellence corporate function. So we are responsible for providing an ecosystem of CRM applications, data, processes to our sales regions to be successful out there in the market and to generate our 21 billion of revenue a year. We have 66,000 employees working for Siemens Healthineers. And in the CRM Excellence function, I'm heading the data governance and management team. So where did this journey start? The journey started in 2020. Well, actually, the journey started already earlier because this was the reason why we had to reset priorities and shift gears in 2020 because we were a heavy click shop, doing a lot of click dashboards and analytics for our salespeople. And this all led to a scripting hell, not a scripting hell on Excel or so, scripting hell in Click. We had thousands of lines of code, and our IT team was giving us some data files somewhere, and then we put them together into dashboards. And whatever we did, our sales colleagues around the globe, yeah, they liked it, but you know, they wanted to have this chart in a different color, and by the way, we need that column. And in the end, what they did, they were just downloading the data and building their own applications. So that's, you know, how things start. We had different logics embedded in the different dashboards. Sometimes numbers were not adding up. So this all kind of like put us to the point where we said, okay, let's step back. Let's see what we actually should provide to our salespeople. And what we want to provide is easy access to the data, right? Sure, we will have central dashboards and they will consume it, but we have to acknowledge the fact that digitalization is here, has arrived. There are enough tools around where people can do analytics. We want to provide easy access to the data. We want to do that in a central governed way. We want to take out a lot of burden on our global dashboards and get all this data preparation out. And my personal goal was that my team is doing this in a very low-code, workflow-driven way. We don't want to go to IT and ask for something to implement it. We want to do it ourselves. We are business users. Of course, we have some technical experience, yeah, but by far we are not database programmers or something like this. So we wanted to use a tool that allows us to do so. The other topic was we wanted to stay database agnostic. At this time, we did not have even a database. So we invested into Microsoft Azure, managed instances. Our data lake team came and said, hey, we have Oracle as the system of choice. This is your data lake. I said, okay, but we need rollover security. We need integration with our Microsoft infrastructure. Oracle couldn't do that, so we put the data from Oracle to Microsoft. You know, if we would have all this data preparation somewhere in a database, eventually we would have to duplicate again things. So that's where KNIME came into the picture and where we started our journey. So where are we today? We have a product that we call CRM Data Cloud, that is our whole ecosystem. We empower over 30 use cases, complex CRM analytics use cases, and hundreds of more. Oh yeah, I need some data about whatever, our key customers or something. The data is consumed worldwide. We see about 30,000 data downloads a day. One of the important measures that I put out for the team is we need to make sure that we are relevant for the business. And relevant for the business means people should come back to use the data. Only if they just come by our shop, do something, never come back, yeah, we have produced data, but it's not useful. So we need to measure how many people come back on a regular basis so that we know we are relevant for their work. And we have about 70%. We have onboarded over 700 colleagues. Let's say the second level outreach of this data is over more than 5,000 people that use the data that we produce. So this is where we are. We integrate CRM data, customer relationship management data. We now expand in towards marketing data, financial service. This is all coming together on this data layer. Now, 30 use cases, complex use cases. If you're not familiar with CRM, it can, it's simple like what is our opportunity pipeline? which projects are we going to win, to pricing, are we pricing right? Are we offering the right prices for the right customers? So we have some, also data science topics in here. Campaign management, are my marketing campaigns successful? Do I have a full coverage of all customers? Is that efficient? A lot of use cases that you can envision. Not only the breadth of the use cases, but also the global scope is important for us. Because out of the fact that we at Siemens, we have legal entities that can act to a certain extent independently. They have their own personal people. They have their own access to their data, right? We are only relevant if we can provide a data as a service that people are using. And just 3 examples. It doesn't matter what the dashboards are showing here. It's just to give you an impression that it's from complex sales analytics dashboard, sales excellence dashboard, to a customer 360. Just a simple key account management for a key account manager to see what are the activities with my customers and stuff like this. This is all covered with the data. And this is now something where we unlock the data to get consumed by the people who have the need, and not somebody providing a dashboard to somebody that hopefully uses the data. Now, how did we achieve that? And this is the current picture, but when we started the journey in 2020, we had still the issue, we still had the architecture with Microsoft and Oracle and 2 different databases. We used KNIME to transform the data. We have all the semantics built in KNIME, all the transformation logics. We have incorporated multiple data sources, CRM systems, CPQ system, configuration, pricing, quotation, financials, I named it. We also use external data to some extent. And now, since the global IT strategy is that we use Snowflake as a database infrastructure, we were put with the challenge that, okay, now we had everything in KNIME, eventually connecting Oracle and Microsoft. Now Snowflake is here. How can you move your use case now on Snowflake? And it took us 4 weeks in total, but it only took us 4 weeks because we enhanced the workflows. If we wouldn't have done this, most likely we could have just switched the connections and make this possible in maybe less than 2 weeks. So that's a big advantage if you are not having these scripts that you have to rewrite on a different database. So in Snowflake, we have a 4-layer architecture where we prepare data, then we calculate KPIs. We have more advanced calculations on top. We have then a data provision layer. And we also use row-level access policies, data masking, all these great features that Snowflake provides. The important thing here is we use KNIME in a way that none of our developers have to think about that. So it is activated by just putting a component into the workflow that has the logic embedded. So we make sure that this is always working as it should work. Now, the beauty about Snowflake is the computation power, the scaling that you can do, and a lot of more things. I'll talk on that in a minute. Now, this is like some numbers on what we do to give you a better feeling. So it starts with our IT data lake. I would say it's a data swamp because the data is there. It's just here's the CRM data, and we look at these tables and columns and say, oh great, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's a cool column name. Everybody will know what this is meant for. What? Or account, NR, account ID. Is that the same? Is that something different? So we have built all the workflows to harmonize the data, putting the data in a business format in a semantically rich layer. We have about 240 workflows that we have built. We run on distributed executors. We are not that advanced like Telecom on Edge, but we use KNIME Server. We run distributed executors. We have designed one master workflow that orchestrates everything, including notification if something goes wrong, including some fail-safe triggers that we don't publish corrupt data. We execute this whole chain 4 times a day. We can eventually maybe increase the frequency here. The end result is that we provide data marts that people can just use, as I said. And here, roughly 4,000 columns that we provide that are semantically rich and make sense to the business. We have general use data marts that we provide, but we also have special use case data marts. And one of the big use cases that creates a lot of these requirements is a graph database use case, where we put the data into a Neo4j graph database. And with that, you need to transform the data even further into more relationship. And so all these workflows are built in KNIME, so that this is the central place. And they are executed, and they are checked, and we ensure that this works as expected. So in the end, our goal is we package up the data for our consumers to use. Now, this is an example of a workflow. You have seen a lot of screenshots on KNIME. You know that it has a lot of capabilities that we all love. I push my team to use or to add metadata to the workflow, because this is the benefit of KNIME, right? You can have workflow annotations. You can have meaningful meta nodes. You can have visually align the data flow, because in the end, the data flow should tell the story of what you're doing with the data. And this is our goal. We are heavily using components, reusable, like shared components, reusable components. And I go a little bit deeper in that, on that in a second. But this is a very important feature to us. Now, why do we love KNIME, right? So we at Siemens Healthineers love KNIME because it's low code. That was one of our goals, right? So it's easy to follow a workflow along. Visualization helps to tell the story, as I said. In my team, everybody should be able to jump into a workflow and troubleshoot it or enhance it or whatever. We don't want to have that knowledge of a script sitting with somebody that is purely documented. So that's why we love it. Rewiring, you all know, just drag and drop a bunch of lines. You can test things out. You can come back. You have versioning, everything. It's great. The reusable components is a big asset, I think. And what we have done, for instance, we have enriched KNIME with Snowflake nodes that basically do a lot of the standard KNIME nodes, like whatever, missing value, column mergers, type conversions, all these, I would say, basic KNIME nodes, not the data science KNIME nodes, but we have created those nodes that these in components, and those components run in database. So we don't pull the data out of the database, crunch it through KNIME, put it back in. This just costs money, right? It costs credits on the Snowflake side, and potentially as well, Snowflake is much faster than a KNIME server. We have a lot of different tables with white tables, about 300 columns, 200 million rows. You don't want to pull the data in and out always. So that's something that is important. We also love interoperability. We're using external data. We're using REST calls to other applications, especially on the marketing side. We're integrating this data. We, of course, have a lot of data on the data lake, on the data swamp already. So of course, Snowflake is a big asset. And what I told you, when we were challenged to migrate from from Oracle to Snowflake, it just took us 4 weeks to rewire everything. If tomorrow, no, there's no tomorrow? No, okay, there's no tomorrow. Good. Let me talk a little bit about the components that we have built, and maybe this sparks some ideas, right, that you might also maybe find it helpful. As I said, we have created a lot of KNIME nodes that mimic what KNIME does to KNIME tables, but do it on Snowflake. Another thing is that we have built a set of components that allow us to check out columns out of a Snowflake database. Like if you want to run a data science algorithm, you don't need 300 columns of customer attributes, right? You only need a bunch of attributes. So what we can do is we can just define, okay, give me 10 columns or 40 columns, whatever. The component splitting the table, we have 2 data streams in KNIME. We can, do a clustering algorithms or something like this, and can then bring the data back. So none of our colleagues, none of our data engineers have to worry, oh, how do I get the table out? And how do I make sure that all the rows get back together? It's kind of like a zipper, right, that we created. It's super handy and super cool. Another thing is that we have, we don't create any tables on Snowflake by hand. We don't write any DDL language and anything to create table and these columns and these data types. We have built components that do so, that compare tables, that enrich tables by extending the structures and stuff like this. So there is endless possibilities that you have here. We have a lot of business logic. We are crazy about currency conversion. Yes, we are a global acting company, and we have a lot of currency rates that we use for forecasting and actuals and pricing and planning and da. This is business logic that you ideally only define once, and that's it. And a lot of more things, a whole orchestration process, everything is also kind of like building components. Some lessons learned. I will not go through everything here, but think before you start using components. If you use them, they are linked as absolute links. The names, if you change things, it's super cumbersome a little bit. You don't see right now where all the components are used. We found it best to organize all our components like the KNIME structure, so our developers can find the same things, right? Build simple test workflows for the components. You can use them for testing, training, explanation. Think big if you build a component. Generalize the problem, right? Don't be too specific. And always use metadata and annotations. This is maybe just a personal thing, but I think it's very, very important. Why we love Snowflake? Warehouse scaling. We have built something where we can ramp up where Snowflake allows you to switch the warehouse while you do database within one session. So you can use a small warehouse that burns less credits, and you can use a larger warehouse that burns more credits, but it gives you more power. So we have built mechanisms in those components that basically switch the warehouses, and nobody of our developers need to think about, oh, I'm now burning money or not. Depending on the complexity of the operations, this is a super cool feature. Data sharing, we use data sharing heavily while we acquired our cancer care company, Varian. Within a couple of hours, we had full access to their data environment. They were on Snowflake, we were on Snowflake. Just sharing the data is easy. The topic of zero-copy cloning is something that is very useful in terms of if you have different versions of a table, but this doesn't cost so much money because basically the storage is not duplicated. Only if you apply changes to the table, Snowflake takes care of the differences. Row-level access policies, super important. Data security. Data masking, especially when it comes to personal data. We have encapsulated all this into components, as I said, but it's great that Snowflake brings these features and that you can just make it part of your workflows, and there's no break in the systematic. So this is why I think it's a perfect match of two tools, two environments. Every tool is serving its own purpose, but they are very well integrated. Nobody cares about that of our users. They just want to get their data. Whether they want to get it in Power BI, whether they want to use KNIME for visualization, whether they want to use Excel, our goal is to provide easy access to the data. With that, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank my teammates here for being on stage. Some words of wisdom. Feel free to read them, maybe it starts a thought process with you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcel.
Have a good day.
Questions or?
We have time for maybe one question from the audience. Anybody? Yes, one question here. Let me just 1 minute to get the microphone. Right here.
What CRM system were you using, or are you using at Siemens?
We are not using Salesforce. We are using Oracle.
Okay. That was going to be my question because a lot of that data sharing,
Sure.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
packaged in. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, one more here, please.
Just to confirm, you said you work in data management, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I've never seen data management or data quality offer data as a service before. And kind of in our company, we're wrestling with that to some extent. Do you think this is a new development for the future where data quality, data assurance, data governance offers this kind of service to companies? Because historically, it's kind of been IT is the gatekeeper of data, but oftentimes the business debates with IT, like who's the owner of data, and it goes, everyone points fingers, right?
Yeah.
So what's the future role of data governance in data as a service?
I think it belongs to a business function because a lot of governance is about defining the context of the data, defining what is important. Data quality as well, you have to have that business context. We divided the field that IT is responsible for the data integration. Since we're using the same environment, we are fully free of building the semantic layer. And the reason why we started there is, sure, we wanted to do data science and fancy forecasting models and predictions and customer churn and everything, but the data is not good enough. So first we need to fix that problem before we advance into the next level, I would say. Yeah.